I want to start the ReUp, but the little banana is being so cute. Let me go listen to him. Today we're going to be talking about standing on the shoulders of giants, making the most of life by following the examples of the greats. Let's go. And we are back after several pieces of technical difficulty and a beautifully delicious little kitty cat. Anyway, welcome. My name is Jason Delgado. This is the Orsini Studios, and this is the ReUp. And that is probably a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. But those are the breaks of living in the city. Anyway, welcome. My name is Jason Delgado. This is the ReUp, a show where I talk about sort of my sort of stories, ebbs and flows in the world of trying to become a full-time professional stand-up comedian, out of the day job into the dream job, sort of the tips and tricks, ebbs and flows, things I go through throughout the journey that hopefully helps other creatives, other people trying to get out of their little day job and into something what they always wanted to do. So anyway, welcome. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about standing on the shoulders of giants. I kind of called it studying the greats. And I wrote a couple notes here just to kind of go over. I wanted to sort of break down this weekend. I watched the Jim Gaffigan special, and it was very inspirational to me. Jim Gaffigan, very funny comedian. You should check out his special on Amazon Prime. I have Amazon Prime. You can get a free trial if you have an email. You already know. But very, very funny comedian. Great comedian. Great pacing. He works clean, and so it's very, very difficult, and so I do too, so I kind of appreciate that. And it's just amazing to kind of see, all these years with books and, special after special. He still has new material, still has new stuff, and he's still churning it out. And he's still very, very funny, well-paced, and a little edgier too, which I thought was very appreciative because, still clean but edgier. He talked a little bit about sex, which normally I didn't hear him kind of get into. I got a couple notes here. I'm cheating a little bit just because, I feel like, for me, one of the things, if you want to be great at something, it's great to study people who are great. You know what I mean? Some of my favorite comedians, Bill Burr, Brian Regan, Patrice, Sebastian, these guys who are really, really, top pro guys who I really, really appreciate, they make me laugh, and I think I love the fact that they make me laugh and make other people laugh, and you can enjoy them with a group of people. But it's kind of now, because I want to do this, on my own, how are they doing it? What are they doing? Studying those sort of methodologies, and of course they're just being funny, but there are little things that I find like I pick up that I think are, interesting, and sort of good things that I feel like I can appreciate about them, laugh about them, but also steal from them in a sense. Not necessarily the material, but just how they're doing it. Jim Gaffigan particularly, he does a lot of like lazy man material. This is so annoying that I have to do this thing. Even though just leave me alone. I'm already here, and that's along the vein of stuff that I do, my annoyances thing. And so one of the things I noticed that he was so clean, not necessarily without the cursing or whatever, but just like word perfect. No slips, no hiccups, no like just pitch perfect, word perfect for an hour 10, probably more because they pared it down, I'm assuming. And just how amazing that is to be so clean for such a long amount of time. One of the things that I find could be a hindrance is when someone is doing a joke and they mess up the joke and they go, "Oh no, let me do that again." So and it's just like there's no way that laugh is coming back. Even if you did the joke perfect the second time, it's kind of lingering in this place. And so I find like the best you could do is if a slip, you kind of just try to roll it into the slip or see if you can kind of, make it something new or what have you. But, sometimes when you could see just somebody doing stand-up where, this might be the joke and this might be the words they always use, but, a slip in the crowd or something, and then they're starting to kind of get a little tangent and then they bring it back. And you could tell how they even cut the special sometimes where it's like, you could tell this is where they ranted off and we brought it back with this sentence that we cut back. And very little, really none, Gaffigan just seemed like it was just straight the whole time. I remember one little Kirby sort of edit, but every time it was just clean, good, word perfect. One of the things I really enjoy about it is that it teaches good writing. Some people, they just write on stage. They go up there, they record themselves, they just talk, and then they pare out some stuff from that, then hone it down and sort of make it their own. But I write everything out and memorize it kind of like a play almost. I record it and listen to it and try to make it, whatever. But one of the things I notice is, he posts, Jim Gaffigan, on his Instagram, a lot of videos where the words are sort of written out. I do too, just the same way. But, one of the things I notice is that when other comedians post those words, videos, it's quick, it's garbled. There's so many words, and then you can't even read it sometimes, the whole thing, and we're on to the next paragraph. And even with mine, sometimes it's just a lot of words, and then you got to zoom to the next set of words. Where, Jim's, even the way that the jokes are spelled out, when you just have to write them out by words in these little clips, you could see it's like a chunk of nice, hit you with a hit. And I was like, just the way, even just written out, you can see the pacing of it. And, there is an element to performance and how he's giving it and the voices and stuff, but just how he is keeping the words so tight and the delivery so tight that it keeps the pacing so tight that when you're in an hour, you don't feel that, we're still here. Like, because that's a lot of times the issue that I find with a lot of comedians, where there's a karate explosion for the first 20 minutes and then it becomes tiring. It becomes tiring to keep listening to them. And, I just think this is part of me that feels like fatigue is based on energy balance, like how long can you maintain a certain pace? And, one of the things Jim Gaffigan did was he had like a run-on joke where he did like a horse bit for a really long time. He just told a bunch of horse jokes. And it was a nice chunk because it allowed the crowd to know a chunk was coming. And also the joke became that there was a chunk of jokes. So it was like a joke within a joke folded into the pacing of the show. Very well done. I mean, I was very, very impressed. And other people do it where they got him to tell 3 stories about OJ, like Chappelle. But this I found really nice because it was it was one of those things where it was very banal, it was about horses, and it kept going, and each joke was very funny. It wasn't like it teetered off. It kept getting funnier. So yeah, very, very good stuff. And yeah, what else did I want to get into? Some takeaways. Just some of the things that I kind of took away from him, and some of the other people who I follow all the time, those greats, Jerry and all those, develop a style, develop a point of view, like with writing or music or anything that's creative. It's like a part of the sheen of the thing is that it's coming from a particular person. You know what I mean? I find, especially with music, like I'll hear a song, and I got songs cool, and then I'll see the person, and I'll either like it more or less. And I don't know what that is. And not based on looks or whatever, but just like personality. Like I might think a song's cool, and then I hear them and find out they're a jerk or whatever, and it doesn't diminish something away from the enjoyment of that. And so to know, Jim Gaffigan's, kind of father of 5 kids, he religious and grew up big family, and there are these elements to him that I feel feed into his point of view of the comedy, and that essentially he could only tell the joke the way he tells it because it's from his point of view. And I think that that's a really fascinating place to be because, everybody's going to have a joke about being fat. Everybody's going to have a joke about going to the bathroom. But when you can develop a way of telling it or a style of telling it, or because it's you telling it, it's funny, that's really powerful just because it makes the jokes funnier, but it also makes protects your material. And also, it's just, people like to see you, because that's eventually the goal. I want to be in a position where, people like to, hey, I like hanging out with Jay and listen to him kind of ramble on for a while. And so to develop that, it can't just be like, I like listening to words from a person on stage. It has to be personality, point of view, me. And I like that when you see the greats do it, they do it from a point of view. A particular way. I'm a father of 5, so these are the things that I have to filter everything through. And it makes me feel like I want to find my thing, you know what I mean? And I feel like in some ways I have certain respects in me, of like point of views, but, it allows me to be sort of braver about things. Because he did a couple risky things, he told a little bit of a sex joke, he told a little bit of like a politically correct joke, and I like that there was a little bit of that, something new that I just, And I was like, hey, I like that you're giving us your little edgier point of view. You're not afraid because now, you're kind of a big deal. People know you. and, and it made me feel sort of empowered to try new stuff, braver stuff. You know, and write good and tight and have that sort of that pacing, and even the words, even as you read the words, they're paced out. At least for me, that's the way I want to do it, just because I really, really enjoy, something where I don't feel like the person, just kind of freestyling it. Where you could see the flubs, you could see the tape. I like it where it almost appears to be coming off the top of the head, but it's so smooth there's no interruption. And the real greats do that, where it's word perfect, it has a point of view, it's tight, concise. And it also doesn't, it doesn't come, it makes me feel comfortable. Some people like stuff that makes them feel uncomfortable as far as comedy. I like something that makes me go like, where are you going with this? And then, and it gives it to me. And Jim is doing that. He's doing, the greats do that, where the tension jokes, where they set it up and then they surprise you. And I really enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed the Jim Gaffigan special on Amazon Prime. Some more notes I had, great pacing, lots of topics, covering a lot of topics. And also, above all, was funny. It was really, really funny, gutturally funny. And I like that he didn't, I think sometimes it's like, oh, you do another fat joke, the hacky comedy. It's like, do as many fat jokes as you want, man. You're hilarious. Don't be too precious about it. That was the other thing. He was covering topics that were very basic. Some would say sort of banal, but I was like, no, man, I like those topics. I like that you're covering them with a new point of view, and you're not being precious about the comedy. It's about horses and fat people. I loved it. So, yeah, it was very inspirational, and it got me to want to be tighter about my writing, better with my point of view, and not to be afraid to cover little different topics than I cover, and also to be unafraid to talk about something banal, just because funny's funny. Above all, funny is funny. And study the greats, because, they're great for a reason. In any case, we're going to call it a little bit rambly, but this was a fun one. You got to meet Benicio. You got to hear my rambles about the Jim Gaffigan special, promoting other comedians. Go ahead and watch that special. Also watch Support coming, a new episode of Support coming this Friday. And more exciting stuff to come. If you're in the Los Angeles area, I'm playing on August 30th at Flappers Club at 9:30 p.m. That is a Friday. So if you can make it, come out and support. Also buy ReUp gear. I'm not wearing any now because I wore it so much I have to wash it. But ReUp gear is available at reupgear.com. Thank you so much for joining us again on another episode of the ReUp. Stand on your own shoulders and be a giant yourself. You already know. Flex positive. We'll see you on the next one.